We're gonna do something a little bit different for the 2021 favorite sit-down video, if that's okay. Instead of repeating the book synopsis to you and blurbing it myself, I'm going to read the blurb to you, and then I'm going to tell you what this book feels like and if it's for fans of X, Y, and Z. So we're doing a little new formula. This is kind of something I did with my newsletter all year last year, and I think it'll be fun to try to be more descriptive in a metaphorical way of the books I liked this year, instead of just repeating the plot synopsis. I don't know, we're gonna try it out and see if it's fun for us. Us means me and you, baby, okay? Okay, first up we have I Love You But I've Chosen Darkness by Clara V. Watkins, which might be my favorite of the year, but I'm not ranking these, supposedly. A darkly funny, soul-rending novel of love and an epic of collapse. One woman's furious revisiting of family, marriage, work, sex, and motherhood. I would describe this book as that suffocating feeling when you get into a car that's been sitting in the sun all day, but it kind of feels good at the same time, just to be that like enveloped by a sensation, good or bad. I'd also say it feels like monsoon season, sense memory, and pumped in oxygen, which is coming through a casino vent. I think this book is for fans of Tonight I'm Someone Else and also Motherhood by Sheila Heti. I loved it. Some of these blurbs are going to be longer than others, it seems. Next we have Fake Accounts by Lauren Euler. On the eve of Donald Trump's inauguration, a young woman snoops through her boyfriend's phone and makes a startling discovery. He's an anonymous internet conspiracy theorist, and a popular one at that. Already fluent in internet fakery, irony, and outrage, she's not exactly shocked by the revelation. Actually, she's relieved. He was always a little distant, and she plots to end their floundering relationship while on a trip to the Women's March in DC. But this is only the first in a series of bizarre twists that expose a world whose truths are shaped by online lies. Suddenly left with no reason to stay in New York and increasingly alienated from her friends and colleagues, our unnamed narrator flees to Berlin, embarking on her own cycles of manipulation in the deceptive spaces of her daily life. From dating apps to expat meetups, open plan offices to bureaucratic waiting rooms. She begins to think she can't trust anyone. Shouldn't the feeling be mutual? Narrated with seductive confidence and subversive wit, Fake Accounts challenges the way current conversations about the self and community, delusions and gaslighting, and fiction and reality play out in the internet age. Okay, for the fun part, I would say this book feels like inhabiting an NFT. I would also say it feels like going so far in an Instagram black hole that you don't remember its origin. I don't know if any of you have, you know, went to a celebrity's profile to see if they were still dating someone and saw a sponsored post by a company you've never heard of and clicked on that, and then you see another influencer that you know tagged in that company's post, so you click on that, and they tag the brand you're wearing, so you click on that, and before you know it, you're like 8 to 10 levels removed what you originally were trying to find out and look for in the first place, and you didn't even notice it. It was completely subconscious. And I would also say this book feels like judging strangers at a coffee shop and also Twitter controversy. This book is for fans of the London Review of Books, criticism itself, and maybe Exciting Times by Nisha Dolan. Okay, next up we have The Performance by Claire Thomas. A novel about 3 women at turning points in their lives and the one night that changes everything. One night, 3 women go to the theater to see a play. Wildfires are burning in the hills outside, but inside the theater, it is time for the performance to take over. Margot is a successful, flinty professor on the cusp of retirement, distracted by her fraught relationship with her adult son and her ailing husband. After a traumatic past, Ivy is now a philanthropist with a seemingly perfect life. Summer is a young drama student, an usher at the theater, and frantically worried for her girlfriend whose parents live in the fire zone. While the performance unfolds on stage, so does the compelling trajectory that will bring these 3 women together, changing them all. Deliciously intimate and yet emotionally wide-ranging, The Performance is a novel that both explores the inner lives of women as it underscores the power of art and memory to transform us. I would say this book feels like imminent dread, the feeling of something lurking behind you and on the cusp of danger, And I think it also feels like how tender it feels to realize that people are actually connected to one another, which sounds kind of trite, but humanity really is our common denominator, huh? I think this is for fans of Second Place by Rachel Cusk, and I would say for fans of Maggie Nelson as well. Okay, next up we have Painting Time by Malice de Kerangal. Don't mock my French accent. Painting Time, we are introduced to the burgeoning young artist Paula Karst, who is enrolled at the famous Institut de Peinture in Brussels. Unlike the friends she makes at school, Paula strives to understand the specifics of what she's painting. Replicating a wood's essence or a marble's wear requires method, technique, and talent. She finds, but also something else: craftsmanship. She resolutely chooses the painstaking demands of craft over the abstraction of high art. With the attention of a documentary filmmaker, de Kerangal follows Paula's apprenticeship, punctuated by brushstrokes, hard work, sleepless nights, sore muscles, and long festive evenings. After completing her studies at the Institute, Paula continues to practice her art in Paris and Moscow, then in Italy on the sets of great films, all as if rehearsing for a grand finale. At a job working on Lascaux 4, a reproduction of the world's most famous Paleolithic cave art and the hypothesis of human cultural expression. An enchanted, atmospheric, and highly aesthetic coming-of-age novel, Painting Time is an intimate and unsparing exploration of craft, inspiration, and the contours of the contemporary art world. As she did in her acclaimed novels The Heart and The Cook, Malice de Kerangal unravels a tightly wound professional world to reveal the beauty within. I think this book feels like yearning. Cruel, all-encompassing yearning. I think it also feels like a special rock that you've brought home from a vacation and it's been rubbed until it's shiny. And lastly, making eyes at someone purposefully, you know what I mean? But specifically making eyes at someone outside of a school building. I think this is for fans of The Idiot by Elif Batuman and Writers and Lovers by Lily King. Next up, we have The Employees by Olga Ravin, a workplace novel of the 22nd century. The near-distant future, millions of kilometers from Earth. The crew of the 6,000 ship consists of those who were born and those who were created. Those who will die and those who will not. When the ship takes on a number of strange objects from the planet New Discovery, the crew is perplexed to find itself becoming deeply attached to them. And human and humanoid employees alike find themselves longing for the same things: warmth and intimacy. Loved ones who have passed, our shared faraway Earth, which now only persists in memory. Gradually, the crew become to see themselves in a new light, and each employee is compelled to ask themselves whether their work can carry on as before, and what it means to be truly alive. Structured as a series of witness statements compiled by a workplace commission, Ravin's crackling prose is as chilling as it is moving, as exhilarating as it is foreboding. Racked by all kinds of longing, the employees probes into what it means to be human, emotionally and ontologically, while simultaneously delivering an overdue critique of a life governed by work and the logic of productivity. I think this book feels like being alone in a museum, and maybe the automatizing of the soul. I'd say this book is for fans of Ursula K. Le Guin and the movie WALL-E. Next up, we have Sarahland by Sam Cohen. Here goes the blurb. In Sarahland, Sam Cohen brilliantly and often hilariously explores the ways in which traditional stories have failed us, both demanding and thrillingly providing for its cast of Sarahs new origin stories, new ways to love the planet and those inhabiting it, and new possibilities for life itself. In one story, a Jewish college Sarah passively consents to a form life in pursuit of an MRS degree and is swept into a culture of normalized sexual violence. Another reveals a version of Sarah finding pleasure and a new set of problems by playing dead for a wealthy necrophiliac. A Buffy-loving Sarah uses fan fiction to work through romantic obsession. As the collection progresses, Cohen explodes this search for self, insisting that we have more to resist and repair than our own personal narratives. Readers witness as the ever-evolving Sarah gets recast, as a Bible-era trans woman, an aging lesbian literally growing roots, a being who transcends the earth as we know it. While Cohen presents a world that will clearly someday end, Sarah will continue. In each Sarah's refusal to adhere to a single narrative, She potentially builds a better home for all of us, a place to live that demands no fixity of the self, no plague of consumerism, no bodily compromise, a place called Saraland. I think this book feels like lucid dreaming. I also think it feels like the sun beaming in through your window as it is right now and only illuminating your face while you're filming a YouTube video of yourself. This is for fans of Carmen Maria Machado's In the Dream House and Shiva Baby, the movie. I feel like the lighting is just fitting this weird art house vibe of me trying to like put some pizzazz into my YouTube best of 2021 list, so we're just gonna roll with it. And the next one we have is Swimming Home by Deborah Levy. Swimming Home is a subversive page turner, a merciless gaze at the insidious harm that depression can have on apparently stable, well-adjusted people. In a summer villa, the story is tautly structured, taking place over a week, in which a group of beautiful, flawed tourists in the French Riviera come loose at the seams. I think this book feels like depression sheets and also vacation despair, that feeling of not wanting your vacation to end, but also not quite wanting to be on it, but also quite not wanting to be home at the same time. And I also feel like this book feels like the construct of a play. It feels like a script. It feels like everyone has their place and their marks. I think this is for fans of Assembly by Natasha Brown, and again, Second Place by Rachel Cusk. Okay, and now we have Second Place by Rachel Cusk. It's my last one. A woman invites a famed artist to visit the remote coastal region where she lives in the belief that his vision will penetrate the mystery of her life and landscape. His provocative presence provides the frame for a study of female fate and male privilege and the geometries of human relationships, and of the struggle to live morally in the intersecting spaces of our internal and external worlds. With its examination of the possibility that art can both save and destroy us, Rachel Cusk's Second Place is deeply affirming of the human soul while grappling with its darkest demons. I think this book feels like looking at yourself in the mirror while you're on acid. I also think it feels like the genuine transformative quality of art that people are talking about when they talk about art in that way. I think it feels like Grasslands as well. A landscape full of reeds and a marsh. I think this is for fans of Georgia O'Keeffe and for fans of Rachel Cusk. If you're a fan of Rachel Cusk, you should read this Rachel Cusk. Okay, I think that was it. We're doing the moody light. I think that was probably going to be weird, but maybe it was a little bit more fun for me to film than it would have been otherwise. And that was the priority right now, okay? It was a good reading year. Thanks for being here on the tube. See you later. Love you. Mean it. Bye.